Innovation, imagination, wonder. These are just some of the words used to describe Dr. Harvey Passes. Dr. Passes explores interesting people and ideas that will stimulate you. He questions the people who develop, create, and employ novel concepts in business and everyday lives. He especially loves to speak with successful people. How did they do it? How can you do it too? So let's join Dr. Harvey Passes in his quest of wonder and curiosity as we watch Dr. Harvey Passes Presents.
A little while ago, a friend of mine, he gave me a great birthday present. This gentleman dresses beautifully, impeccably beautifully. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but this guy is Billy Crystal used to say. He looked marvelous. He looked dressed so great. And I always commented to him for the past few years, you know, your ties look great, your shirt looks great, your suits they just fall beautifully like you were born to it. And I had a birthday, and I wound up getting a knock on my door in my office. And this gentleman comes in, and it seems that my whole staff was involved on this little subterfuge. And they blocked out the time, and I thought I was supposed to be seeing a patient. And instead, they blocked out the time, and this gentleman comes in, and I had no idea who this gentleman was. And it turns out that my friend, who I always compliment, bought for me, gave me a gift certificate for some custom-made clothes. And I said, wow, don't that beat all? So naturally, I thanked him profusely. I gave him a root canal on the house, only kidding. And I thanked him a lot. And this gentleman, Joe Apollo, who you're going to meet in a second, he came in and he started measuring me and started working like, you know, Santa's elves and just doing everything to get all the measurements right. And we picked out some fabrics and we discussed everything. And what a great experience it was. Just terrific experience. And that's what I'm wearing today, is this beautiful suit. It was just terrific. I had to have him on because the experience was just absolutely amazing. It was just terrific. So, Joe Apollo. Joe, it's great to see you.
It's great to see you as well.
Just terrific. Usually I'm looking down on you because you're busy below measuring and doing everything. But now you're terrific. You know, you're the doctor of the thread. I mean, you just really know what you're doing. It's just absolutely just amazing to me how you do that. And I wanted to get into it today because you see all this beautiful clothing here, and I see the difference between something that comes off a rack and something that you create. What you create is made for just this body, and the styling and everything else. So it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
How do you determine? I mean, when you decided to, when we decided to create this, how did you figure what would be good for me, as opposed to, I mean, the style? You said to me, this is the kind of cut I want you to have. I want you this double-breasted. I wanted the shoulders. How do you decide that?
Well, firstly, I find that I have to capture your personality. So in conversation, you may not realize it, but I'm really figuring you out. Your body language, your attitude, and your personality. Which is quiet, most important.
Very laid back.
Exactly. And the suit that, when I say I chose, but I offer as a possibility for you to ultimately choose, is one of which has some pop to it, some sizzle, as compared to a solid navy blue suit. That would be very
earlier.
Traditional, very safe, might be a better word for it. The suit you're wearing, if I must say so myself, I am very impressed. You wear it beautifully.
Look who made it.
The fabric has this sizzle that I refer to. Not everyone could wear it. It goes along with your personality, your attitude. And these are the things that I would consider when choosing or offering fabrics for you ultimately to choose.
I see. Okay. Let's talk about that for a moment. An individual, I'm trying to think of maybe the direct opposite of this. A professor at school, I mean, a pipe-smoking kind of guy, maybe a little bit more introspective. You know the kind of personality I'm talking
Absolutely.
about. How would the clothing differ? Would you make him something like this?
Probably not. I probably wouldn't even offer it, only because he just wouldn't go along with his way,
It's
or
incongruous.
yeah, he just wouldn't. It just wouldn't go along with the flow of his way. I would offer him some subtle plaids, perhaps a pinstripe, not a bold chalk stripe, something that has some character to it. I don't want to make it everything is very, very safe, but fabrics that have some individuality but not edgy.
Edgy. So the personality versus the clothing design. People watching this right now and then want to get an idea about what they might look good in. Obviously, if someone is like 200 pounds overweight, then they're not going to wind up looking, like a George Hamilton, obviously. So there's your body also has a lot to do with it, but we're talking about the personality type. What do you look for in a design of the personality type when you meet someone? Or what should someone think? Who they are? If somebody watching the show right now wants to go shopping, whether it's in a store for ready-made or whether it's going to someone like you who's going to be making custom, in their mind, do they tell the clerk, the store clerk, or the tailor, this is the kind of look that I want, my personality is out there, or I'm really kind of laid back, or what?
Well,
what advice can you offer?
The advice I could offer, firstly, is your size. Now, if you mentioned that if someone is 200 pounds overweight.
Right.
I would immediately go to a double-breasted suit.
Okay, or Omar the tent maker.
Or Omar, and I would go to double-breasted for one good reason. Listen, Jackie Gleason.
Yep.
Now we all remember Jackie Gleason.
Sure, away we go.
He was a terrific dresser on his show. Not the Honeymooners. That was something. That was a different venue.
Show, right.
But his regular variety show. I
Absolutely.
never met
Vests
him.
And everything.
I never met him. However, I could guesstimate that he was probably a 48 portly.
Mm-hmm.
Overweight, he certainly was.
Yep.
But he walked with an attitude. His posture was such that he always wore a flower.
Always wore a flower.
His attitude went along with his clothing. But I use double-breasted as an example because double-breasted hides a multitude of sins. Now, in your particular case, you have a double-breasted. I made you as well. And you're certainly not overweight. I just think it's a stylish, very, very tailored, very elegant look. Currently, most stores, you could not find a double-breasted.
You can't find it.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't wear it. Just because it's not featured or the hot item today, wear classics. And that's something you'll look in the movies from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and you'll see double-breasted worn exactly how you're wearing it today.
Interesting you should say that about dressing classically. The other night, or last night, was the Emmy Awards. And my nephew was up for an Emmy, so we stayed up all night watching this thing. He lost, unfortunately. But we watched, and you see, they focus on the women. But you see the men get up. And I got to tell you, most of them look silly. There's an attempt to trying to look good, look cool. The clothing looks horrible. And then when I think back, and I'm really dating myself now, and I know you'll appreciate it. You look back at a David Niven in the golden age of Hollywood. You look at a Fred Astaire. You look at Tyrone Power. You look at, I can go on, and these men, I'm going to give you a real good one, Adolphe Menjou. I mean, you look at people who dressed classically, and those people wearing that kind of clothing could walk into a room today and heads would still turn.
Correct.
You don't see that. And that, I think, is a very big mistake. Maybe because people want to be more casual today. I don't know what it is. But the way this is, for example, this is you call it a semi-formal look.
Yes.
Which is above business, but below a tux.
Yes.
Which has a nice place.
Correct. This fabric you're currently wearing, as well as the one I am wearing, happens to come out of a formal collection. I have made tuxedos
like this.
out of that suit.
Right.
And that being navy blue, I remember an occasion when I made this suit as a tuxedo, and I trimmed it in blue satin, blue tuxedo shirt,
Gorgeous.
which you don't see.
Right.
This particular suit I've made as well as a tuxedo, again with it's a charcoal black satin trim. Unique, special, details are covered.
It's so important. What do you say about clothing makes the man? What did you say?
My favorite
love your
line
line.
is, clothing doesn't make the man, it makes the difference.
Makes the difference. I like
And I
that.
coined that a while ago.
I like that. Let's get into now the construction of the clothing, because I find that fascinating, because I'm wearing the clothing now and it just feels different. First of all, it feels incredibly comfortable. Let's talk about the pants. I notice in some pants, you can sit over, and if you put a little extra weight around your belly, you can get the band around the belly could like roll over or something. Explain the different things that goes into the construction of men's suits. What people should look for.
Well, that's really a twofold question. In manufacturing or making or measuring a trouser, for which relates to the suit, slacks are for sport jackets, trousers are for the suitings. Most importantly is the rise has to be the right length. The rise meaning the difference between the outseam and the inseam. It's the length of the zipper, essentially. And that has to be high enough to cover your girth, or at least equal your girth.
And don't go below it.
If it's below it,
You better be thick.
gravity comes into play, and store-bought suits don't have the construction that I put into my waistbands, and inevitably they will roll, and the white silicea from the inside will begin to show, and it's a horrid look. I mean, it just looks unkept.
Yeah.
I, in turn, make the rise correctly, the correct length, and in addition, I put a canvas inside my waistband that literally,
Body.
it's almost steel. It
right.
just cannot roll.
And yet it feels
it's
comfortable.
impossible. Well, it's firm. It'll hold you in.
Right.
In addition, I put what I call Snugtex, and that's a rubber band that's inside that will hold your shirt in as well and keep your trousers straight.
I can't stand it when I see people and they take that coat off and all of a sudden the shirt's coming out. I don't like that. It looks unkempt.
Yes.
It's just disheveled looking, and it takes away. So you said before it makes the difference, clothing. I say, and it's probably in keeping with what you're saying, clothing also defines the man. And if you don't care what you look like, what are you defining yourself as if you don't show that you have respect for yourself?
Correct.
So by working with your tailor to know what you want, you could now go there and say, I would like to have a little rubber, not a rubber band, but a rubber band of some kind to keep the shirt down.
Correct.
And let it look good, and maybe put in a, as you say, more canvas around the waist to give that greater support. And the rise is also important. I would never have thought. So you taught me. I never would have thought where to keep the waist, except for where it feels good, because we're all used to where we like our clothing to be. And I've seen so many people with the waist lower down the band. And even if they trim, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
It still
exactly
comes
right.
over. It doesn't matter if you trim.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's the key here. Because people say, well, I'm trim.
Right.
I'm not talking about the girls who walk around today with their, everything, God knows how low it is. That's a different story. But when men are dressed up, I have a friend of mine who lost a lot of weight, a ton of weight. And he's in pretty good shape, but his clothing, the rise is so low that it just looks a little bit like a belly's coming over, and yet he doesn't have a belly, which to me is absolutely fascinating. Talk about well, before we get into the coat, talk about the shirt. What about the shirt? See, I'm wearing this shirt here right now, and it just feels good. I noticed my watch feels good also around here. What did you do to make the difference?
Well, in measuring for a custom-made shirt, so many factors come into play. Mm-hmm. If you were the type of a person or your career warranted that you would wear your shirt once a year or twice a year, obviously it wouldn't be laundered that much. I would work very close with your neck. I wouldn't put very much shrinkage into the collar and or cuff. But being a professional and you're wearing your shirts often, I add X amount extra into the collar so that ultimately after it's laundered 5, 6, 7, 10 times, it will still be the correct size then. Your cuff, we address the cuff wherever you wear your watch. With some of these new unique watches, they're so big we have to really make one cuff appropriate for the new watch styles.
So this cuff is a little bit wider
in
circumference than the opposite.
Correct.
So to allow for that, and yet one can't tell.
No.
One can't tell at all. And how should the shirt fit?
Well, the shirt should fit your waist, obviously your girth. We call the girth your waist. There shouldn't be very, very much fabric at your waist. the collar should be the appropriate height. Not only if you have a very long neck, you have to make the collar higher. If you have a very, very short neck, or no neck for that matter, obviously we'll make what we call a vanishing neckband or a very low neckband, so that you don't crush the side of the collar here, which is the most important part of your appearance, is this. The collar of the jacket.
It's true.
Your shirt collar, the height, and no wrinkling here, and the tie should be dead center, and there should be a very, very close knit to the leaves. These two are called leaves. They should be touching.
How's my collar?
You're perfect.
Look good?
You're absolutely perfect.
All right, we'll go on the air. Okay. Yes. Sounds great. Let's get back to something you said earlier, which raised a little question in my head. You used the term slacks, then you used the term trouser, and then you said trouser is a suit pant.
Correct.
Pants. And slacks is for sport coat or casual?
Sport or casual.
Okay. Explain the difference technically to us lay people between slacks and trousers, besides what you just said, because someone could say, well, why can't I take my suit pants and just wear it? I mean, obviously you can do whatever you want to do, but explain what this means culturally. And
purely a matter of semantics, but in the industry, trouser is the second half of a jacket suit.
Okay.
Slacks, pants for that matter, is obviously just a pair of casual.
Would you make the pants the same? In other words, if I said to you, do me a favor, I need a bunch of pants. I got sport coats and sport jackets, and maybe I'm going to be wearing some sweaters and whatever. They're not going to be part of a suit. They're not going to be trousers. They're going to be slacks. Would you design them differently, or everything is still the same?
I would probably design them a little differently. Perhaps in the casual slacks, I may use some plain fronts. In your case, no pleats.
Why?
More of a casual look. More of a casual look. If you could carry it. If you're a little full in the front, I would always stay with pleats. But if you're fairly normal in proportions, for casual slack, especially today, it's being shown and it's common. Plain front.
Plain front.
Nice look. It's not a jean look. It's not a darker look, but a little more casual.
I see. And do you do that for people?
Sure.
You make all that kind of stuff. That's very interesting. That's fascinating, because all I can think of is just elegant clothing when you have unique custom-made clothing, as opposed to saying, well, I'll just get it off the rack. Let's go right now for a second and discuss about what we're looking at here. Certainly, someone's not going to be going home and wearing this the way that is today. What are we looking at here, and what's the value of doing this? What's the importance of it?
This jacket is in a condition we call slip-on.
Slip-on.
Or try-on, I'm sorry.
Try-on.
Try-on is, these sleeves are basted on, there are obviously no lapels, and the condition of this jacket is such that I could do any alteration on this rather easily, meaning turning the sleeves, setting the sleeves to the way the posture or the client's posture is such. I can tighten the collar. If on this try-on, this jacket was sitting like this, I could tighten it and make sure it fits correctly here without going through a major alteration had I tried to do it in a finished state. So it's kind of building a jacket from start, where you have an opportunity to do any work easily, and customizing it to the customer's posture. Most importantly, posture.
Interesting. I noticed before, and I see it over here. What do you call this? The yoke? Of the back?
The yoke is across the back.
This
is your collar.
Collar. Okay. So I notice it's all fitting, like the whole thing was painted on.
Yes.
It just looks so beautiful. You don't want to have, I don't want to touch this or fall over, but you don't want to have the back of this with an open space. Is that it?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And you've seen it. I know you've seen it.
Oh, it looks terrible.
On TV, even some of the
looks sloppy.
Some of the newscasters and what have you. It really is. And keep one thing in mind, and I repeat myself, this is how people focus on you, looking here. And if this is not correct or not well,
doesn't matter.
Sitting off you.
You're dead. Getting back to the slacks and the trousers, what's your thought on whether there are belts or no belts? What do you like?
Personally, I don't wear a belt. Okay, perhaps I'm
any of your slacks?
Maybe my casual slacks, I might. I do have some casual slacks that I would wear a belt. But my suitings, my personal suitings, I don't wear a belt. It's just an extension waistband, and it fits well. It has to fit well. If it doesn't, we'll take it in and let it out. But I don't like my eye to go to a belt buckle. If the jacket is open and there really is no reason to see, it just takes your eye away from it. If you notice on your particular suit,
Right.
and I know it's a dressy suit, I even made your buttons covered.
Yes, I noticed that.
So that
I noticed
looking
that.
at you, your eye would not go to any piece of plastic or a piece of leather or a metal buckle.
Right.
It flows.
It just flows. See, you are already explaining how your personal philosophy goes into the making of your clothing, and you started off the discussion earlier by saying, well, I didn't tell you what to get. It's called being passive aggressive. You know what you like, and you know in your philosophy what you would like to see, and you guided me to really what you wanted.
Yes.
That's exactly the way it goes. And certainly it came out just, it looks beautiful. It's terrific. But I can see what your style is. Am I correct in stating that you have kept your weight the way it has been maybe the past 30 years?
My weight doesn't change.
Doesn't change.
Doesn't
That's
change.
why you're comfortable being beltless.
That's true.
Most of us can't say that.
That's true.
I love to eat, and God Almighty, I go up and down the scale. Not good to be that way. Not good. But for you, you can't. Am I right?
Yes, you are. But part of my services, and I say this.
Well, I don't. Go ahead.
I'll maintain a client's wardrobe, so I look past the first day. If you gain some weight, you call me and you get it back. We alter it, you get it back right away.
Oh, I understand that. Let's talk about what's the term? We've discussed design, but now let's talk about either fabrics or blending of colors. I'm looking at this right now, for example, and it's just beautiful. How do you know? How do you explain to your client that this pink tie with these little, I don't know what you call those flowers or something in there, this little blue, what's inside it? Pink? Again, in the dead
little
center?
rose, yes.
Little rose. That it's going to go with this. What's your response? How do you tell someone what you think should go well, as opposed to them wearing an orange shirt and a green tie with this?
Well,
I hope that was offensive enough to you.
Yeah, it certainly was. We describe that tie, that combination rather, as a power tie.
What does power tie mean?
Meaning that the tie really doesn't relate to the jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Donald Trump, red ties was his traditional, or pink ties. Now he's on to pink ties. It doesn't. You're not wearing a pink suit, and you're certainly not wearing a red suit. So why would you wear a red tie or a pink tie? They're just power ties. It's a tie of distinction. It's a tie of attitude, almost in your face. This is it. I'm the boss. I'm in charge, and you wear it with that flair.
Interesting. So that tie says, I don't care what you think, and I happen to think that this goes with it. Even if it was an orange and green, then you'd be
little stretch.
A little bit of a stretch. No, it's just absolutely elegant. Let's look at some of the ties that you have here right now and explain. You could just pick up a few of these things. Oh, that's interesting. Here's the green tie.
The green tie.
Right, the green tie. So now, when one wants to get a tie made, what does one look for in material, and how are ties made? Is it just this material cut and stitched and that's it? But you do more than that.
Well, we manufacture our own neckwear.
Right.
And we would pick a tie which is appropriate for an occasion, or
right.
or your suit, or your colors, or naturally your wife would come in and also put her
She
opinion.
certainly did.
And you choose your tie. We make it to your height or your length.
Mm-hmm.
Where you wear your trouser. If you
right.
wear your trousers super low, we make the tie a little bit longer.
Right.
Unfortunately, store-bought ties today, in very expensive ties,
right.
run 56 inches, 57 inches, maybe.
Is that long or short?
That's really, well, for a man who's 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", it could be appropriate. But a man who's 6'2", when you try to put on with an 18 neck or a 17.5-inch neck, you try to put on a 57-inch tie.
It looked like Ralph Cramden.
Or Laurel and Hardy.
Laurel and Hardy, those little short ties.
So we make it to your size. And we make accessories, too, just to complement the outfit. We'll make pocket squares. We'll make suspenders. I make scarves that match the neckwear, just to go the extra mile to make it that much more unique.
What about vests today? Do you use vests? I love vests.
Same thing as double-breasted. You probably couldn't find a vested suit in a store. However, I make vests for more than just the reason of making a vest for a three-piece suit. if I get a client, and usually it's a younger generation who will not agree with me in wearing their trousers where they belong, and they must wear them on their hip.
Oh, right,
Okay.
right.
And when that jacket is open, and I see all top and little legs, I mean the balance between
Looks
his body.
absurd.
So only a couple of years ago, I come up with this idea because it was bothering me. I said, how about I'll make you a vest? And that was one case in point, so, and I'm reflecting on it. And I made this young fella, mortgage broker, a vested suit. I can't tell you that it was catching. Everyone got on the bandwagon because at work, at business, they take the jackets off, but they're still wearing a vest. And they could see a client, they could see a customer. It
looks great.
And it's a terrific
casual
look.
formality.
And I got what I wanted. I don't see where the trouser ends and the shirt begins. I'm not concerned with that any longer. And also, my client is well dressed. So that's the story with vests.
I like that. That's very interesting. I've always liked vested tuxedos. I just found them to be very elegant looking. I love double-breasted tux, but a one button or a two button piece where you open it up and you got a nice vest. Oh, that is just
classic vest.
That is just so beautiful. We got about 2 minutes left. What parting words can you give to people, to men, as far as their dress is concerned? What should they look for? What bit of advice can you give people?
Well, the advice I would give, not everyone is a candidate for custom-made clothing.
Right.
And if you choose to go to a store without regard of the type of store, of the cost, buy a suit that fits you well. Mm-hmm. Buy a suit that you will maintain in your closet, put it on a hanger, a regular hanger, a wide hanger.
Not a wire hanger.
Not a wire hanger. Hang your jacket up when you're driving. Make sure you get a collar on your shirt that fits you perfectly for that particular occasion, for that day. Mm-hmm. And that advice.
And your tie also, when you don't just buy it and say this looks good, put it around your neck and knot it and see if it's short or if it's long.
Absolutely.
I mean, absolutely, just do it.
Yes.
There's no question about that. And not to be afraid to tell the clerk what you want. As far as also your personality is concerned, maybe it's good to go with your spouse. And so this way you could say, hey, honey, my personality, what do you think?
Right.
And because most people are not going to say, hey, I'm a pretty jovial guy. Give me jovial clothing, And it's not going to work out that way. So I think that's probably a pretty important thing. One last comment about accessories. You got a minute with 30 seconds left. What comments can you make about rings, watches, bracelets, pins, anything? What about accessories? Should people use it? Should they not? What's your opinion?
Depending on your occupation, I think pinky rings are a no-no sometimes. If you're dealing in the banking industry, if you're dealing as a financial advisor, you shouldn't be wearing a $100,000 watch with a tremendous diamond on you. It's a little edgy as far as the customer's confidence in you.
Right.
He would like to see a little more conservative attitude. And the same thing with your clothing. Let your clothing and jewelry match each other's attitude.
Match your attitude, and just remember, the rule of thumb is you speak with 6% words, but you communicate with like 94% of your body and what your clothing is. It all says the same thing.
Yes.
So you really are a master of communications.
Thank you.
Joe Apollo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming down.
It's my pleasure.
You're the master. You're the master of the universe. Great. I learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. You'll come back again with maybe we could talk about some casual clothes, depending upon the season, and show people what they can do and how they can attire themselves for that.
I'd be happy to.
Great. You're a gentleman. Thanks for coming down.
My pleasure.
And I hope you enjoyed and you got a lot out of this. Now go out and get some clothing. I'm tired of seeing you look like that. I'm only kidding. Anyway, like Joe Apollo, whatever you do, Dr. Pass is always saying, do it with passion. Until next time, see you.